Hello everyone, welcome to the Innerspired Co. Light Energization. If you are just hopping on here, this is for you if you are an inspired visionary, a sacred activist, a heart-led leader. So if you're now just arriving into this space, welcome. I am so happy to have you here with me today for this really powerful, really important message that I have to pass. Today we're going to attune to the current cosmic currents that are active right now and offer a divinely inspired vision for where humanity is at right now in our collective evolution. And I'm also going to reveal how you can ride this wave of grace to activate the dream that lives within your own heart that is wanting to come to the surface, and the one that's destined to inspire humanity and enhearten the world. So if you're just joining today, now, the reason this is important is because when we're clear on the waves of change that are sweeping planet Earth right now, you will intuit, you will know in your heart and in your soul with complete certainty exactly what you need to do to align with the greater rhythm of creation that's wanting to be birthed from inside of you as your life's great work of heart. The vision that you are cultivating then becomes not just possible, but inevitable. So listen, soul family, these are really, really intense times. And we're experiencing a powerful change on the planet that none of us have ever experienced in our lifetime. And I'm going to talk more about this energy, but more than that, we're experiencing an energetic convergence that we haven't seen on planet Earth in 323 years. The changes that are imminent are extraordinary. And so if you are just joining this live now, welcome. I'm stoked to have you here. And we're going to explore the deeper insights that will help you to work with this energy in a good way that will get you clarity and confidence and give you the courage to know exactly what you need to be focusing on at this pivotal turning point. All right? So, for those of you who are just arriving into this space, my name is Aru Harth. I am a visionary guide and the founder of Innerspired Collective. And I'm also best known as the Soul Astrologer. And I have been working consciously with the astrological system, discovering experientially my own way to attune to the collective currents for the last 13 years. And I've dialed in on a system of attunement that is soul deep and really gets to the heart and the living spirit of these times and what we're navigating. So some of you are new here, and if you're new to my channel, again, my name is Aru Harth. My name carries the essence of the Innerspired Collective ethos, which is the movement that I am called to steward on Earth at this time. Aru is the dawn of divine illumination of higher consciousness, and Hearth signifies the sacred fire, the essential heart of a gathering space. So together, Aru Hearth is a guiding flame, an illuminated space that we're convening in and co-creating in and converging in together that's devoted to innerspiration, cultivation of your inner fire, and divine presence. All of that are being nurtured into being through this light energization that we're activating today. Okay, so those of you who are just landing in this space, welcome again. Thank you for being here, and let's dive in without further ado. So as I mentioned, we are building towards a conjunction that's the first time we've ever seen this in our lifetime. It's the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune that is taking place on February 20th of 2026. So it's coming next year. But though that's the peak effect of this energy, realize that there is an energization process that is invoking this energy right now. And so we're already catching glimpses of the changes that are imminent. We have recently had Neptune enter the tropical zodiac sign of Aries, which it has not been in for presumably 160 plus years. And now still Saturn is in Pisces and has not joined with Neptune, but it's building. And so many of us are feeling a sense of urgency, something really powerful in the field that is being brought to be activated. And this energy is so strong. It's like you might be waking up and starting your day with this sense that something has to be done. You know, there's something powerful that's needing your attention. You need to act right now. This sense of urgency that if you don't act, something is going to happen. You know, this fire that's lit beneath our ass that says we have got to take action right now or else there will be consequences. And so that is the convergence of these two planets now. But why this is important, that's what I'm so excited to share with you now. This convergence of Saturn and Neptune building to next year, we're already feeling the energy of, is reaching a pivotal climax next year as part of a major 36-year cycle. But though the Saturn-Neptune cycle is 36 years, we have not seen this convergence of these two planets in the fiery, passionate, aggressive, fiercely willful sign of Aries in over 323 years. The last time that we had it was, incidentally, the last convergence that we had of Saturn and Neptune together was in 1989 in Capricorn. A word that I came across from Enrealment newsletter grounded spiritual teacher Jeff Brown. And he calls this a time of, and it's the perfect word for Neptune has this quality of disorientation, of confusion, of things getting washed away, while Saturn has this quality of something being blocked. Together, there is this obscurity, this looming cloud that is kind of washing things out into what might appear as light, but actually it's light that's masking a greater dark, which is humanity can't see where it's going right now. And Aries is a sign of certainty. Aries is a sign that knows exactly how to act. But Saturn, Neptune together creates this looming fear, this reluctance to act. There is this obscurity that is creating this uncertainty in humanity at this time, is infusing a certain collective bewilderment where we don't know what the actions are. We don't know what the steps are. And the reason is because we are pioneering an entirely new future with this convergence. Now, I'm not exaggerating, and I'm going to give you evidence for this. So the last convergence of Saturn with Neptune was in 1989 in Capricorn, which seeded a collective bewilderment, Saturn-Neptune, around the Capricornian theme of scarcity. And so this infused anyone who lived through or was born during this time, which was essentially the millennial era. It seeded people during this last 36-year cycle with a sense of, I've got to conserve, this resistance, this holding on, this Capricornian control. If there's anything that Capricorn is not about, letting go. And yet right now with Saturn and Pisces, we are actually being challenged to let go of control. This control was seeded back in 1989 when humanity reached a turning point, actually economically, and this also correlates with the sign of Capricorn. And we actually experienced the peak of a recession right around the time of this convergence of Saturn-Neptune in Capricorn, a sign that in its shadow, which Saturn in Capricorn at the time evoked, brought about a certain scarcity. Now, that doesn't apply to today. I'm pointing to something really powerful here. Remember this theme that we're pioneering a new future. And it's that we're actually closing out a cycle that has characterized the last 36 years, a cycle of scarcity on planet Earth. And this was seeded into the millennial generation. Prior to that convergence of Saturn with Neptune, we had that same convergence, but in a different sign, in Libra, in 1953, which invoked an age of luxury and opulence. This was during the boomer generation. It was post-World War II, and suddenly, after the intensity of World War II, especially in America, humanity had this sense of, this is a time of luxury. We can relax, we can enjoy the finer things in life. So that was a time of peace. Now, the previous Saturn-Neptune was in 1907 in Leo, which was around the time of Walt Disney, which ushered in an age of entertainment, correlated with Saturn, Neptune, and Leo. But prior, and we could keep going back every 36 years, but if you do the research, you find that the last time that Saturn, Neptune had converged in the sign of Aries, which is where it is building to its conjunction next year, February 20th of 2020, you find that that was the year 1703. And at that time, now I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not saying this to provoke any fear. I'm really adamantly against fear-based astrology, lower 3D. I'm not here to feed into any of that spiritualized, sensationalized bullshit. We're here as a humanity, as a collective rising into our hearts. And what applied then is different than now. And what activated then had its own very nuanced energetics that are subtly different than now. So what I'm about to share is not an implication that there's going to be a repeat event next year, but it's to paint a picture. The last time we had an energy of Saturn, Neptune converged in the sign of Aries was in 1703, at which time there was the War of the Spanish Succession, which I just learned about. It was the major global conflict of the time, and it holds a significant resonance with this Saturn-Neptune theme that I'm touching on here. Signifies a dissolution, Neptune, of a Saturnian empire or a government. the erosion, Neptune, of structures, a clashing of worldviews. Aries is a sign that brings about juxtaposition and clashing, and also separation, consciousness. It's 3D. It's not in the heart level. It's survivalistic. It's every man for themselves, going their own way, fighting for self. And this also correlated with the fracturing of an old order. Okay, so really quickly, a summary of that event in 1703, the last time we had this convergence, was War of Spanish Succession, which was a large-scale conflict involving most of the great powers of Europe, France and Spain versus the Grand Alliance of England, the Dutch Republic, the Holy Roman Empire, Austria, and others. It was triggered by the death of Charles II of Spain without an heir, sparking fears that France and Spain would unite under one crown, disrupting the balance of power. So the key features of that time were an erosion of divine monarchy ideals, an erosion of France's absolutism. It's very much Neptune Saturn, erosion of absolutism. It shows the rise of strategic alliances over religious unity, collapse of illusions about empire, stability, and royal authority, growing cynicism and realism in diplomacy and war. Again, that took place in Aries, the sign of war. And it had to do with the Saturnian reckoning. And during those times of loss, of famine, of violence, now here's the super revealing piece about this energy. It's that not all convergences of, say, Saturn, Neptune, and Aries are equal. The question is, where is Mars next year when those two planets come together? And where was it in 1703? And at the time, it was Mars in Taurus, a sign that is about food security. It's about sustenance, and it's also about land. And so there was a theme at the time, devastation of land that ensued as a result of the Spanish succession. Now, back to what this energy actually is. In 2026, next year, the Saturn-Neptune convergence in Aries is ruled by Mars in a different sign than where it was in 1703, in Aquarius. And Aquarius is a sign of awakening, and Aries is a sign of survival. So there's this awakening of a survival complex brewing in the collective right now. This combination of Aries Aquarius signifies an urgency to wildly liberate, to pioneer the future, and a drive to aggressively revolt the status quo. Now, in the positive, what we're going to be seeing is a reclamation of power, Aries, people taking back the power of their free will as sovereign creators. And from that place of sovereignty, positively, this energy will bring about an Aquarian collectivization of humanity. Okay, so what we have is this sovereign collectivization, souls gathering, collectivizing for the reclamation of the power of the individual. Now, on the negative side of this alignment, in 2026, but we're building to it right now, is Aries is a sign of separatism and Aquarius is a sign of rebellion. So put it together and there's this energy of a separatist rebellion. Now, this is part of, from a shamanic astrology point of view, and this is not the shamanic astrology practiced and coined by others in the astrology world. This is what has been experientially revealed to me in my practice as an astrologer over the last 13 years. It is that part of the infiltration of the collective of humanity happens by way of the outer planets, along with the malefic planets Saturn and Mars. And here are the ways that it comes through. Pluto correlates with spiritual manipulation on Earth. Neptune with deception. Uranus with rebellion. Saturn with affliction. And Mars with the theme of imposition. Now I'm going to explain. So from a shamanic point of view, at the soul energetic level, we are now in a chapter characterized by Pluto in Aquarius, and the manipulation of humanity is happening through the Aquarian theme, technology. It's going to be through arousing a rebellion amongst people. There's something rising in the collective psyche that is a rebelliousness. And this is very problematic. And what's the rebellion against? With Uranus in Taurus, it's a rebellion against the earth. And so during this time, part of the manipulation is going to be through the rise of technologies. We're going to see attempted land grabs. We're going to see, again, Taurus theme has to do with the food supply, has to do with our resources. And Aquarius is also a sign of decentralization. And so there's this theme of the collective movement of energy is decentralizing. Okay, with that, we're in the positive going to see a decentralization of the Taurian, Uranus and Taurus currency. We're going to be seeing a shift completely to digital. We're going to see even more than ever blockchain technology rising. And with that, the old world that we have known, which is a world that's founded on the monetary system, how much money you have in the bank is going to mean nothing when this shift takes place. The only thing that's going to matter is that you are a part of a collective, and that together there's a communalizing and humanity coming together to share. As we're now navigating Neptune in Aries, there is a collective deception which is driving people to individuate, to go their own separate ways. Aries is a sign of fighting. It's a sign of survival. It's a sign of burnout. It's a sign of do, make it happen, because there's a sense of urgency. People are being deceived through a sense of urgency to act that's coming from a survivalistic place. And this is feeding into the collective bewilderment. There's this sense that there are certain urgent actions to take, but we're absolutely confused, not knowing what they are. Aries is a sign of the pioneer. And so part of what's so immensely bewildering about these times is that we are pioneering, Aries, a new future. Aquarius, remember next year, Mars in Aquarius rules the Saturn-Neptune convergence. And so we're pioneering an entirely new future that is a decentralization of the economy, of wealth, that is going to urgently require people to collectivize. And yet at the same time, there is a deception that's telling people to go their own separate ways, that's creating blocks and resistances at the third chakra level, and fears, survival fears, that are having people blocking the new future that is being ushered forth, that we are called to pioneer. How this translates is what we've known in the 3D is a fallen architecture. The sign of Aries, so it's the solar plexus chakra, and with that there is an affinity not only to Mars but to the sun. And so there's a sense of third chakra ambition, of purpose, coming from one's own sense of survival. But there's a deeper issue here. Aries is a sign of decision. So that Neptune-Saturn bewilderment is invoking a kind of ambiguous indecision. And people are going to be increasingly realizing that they have been stuck in survival loops because they have been in the wrong career or relationship or life path. There's going to be a sense that they've been in something that has had them resonating with a lower frequency of. At the same time, there's a calling to something greater that they're really passionate about. But because of this block in the third chakra that humanity's collectively navigating, people are afraid to go all in into what they're really passionate about because they don't trust. And this is creating the uncertainty. Well, I don't know if it'll work if I try that. So what we're seeing is a building in the next year where humanity is still being deceived, Neptune, and afflicted, Saturn, into the lower fallen 3D. There's a resurgence of that fallen architecture that is rapidly eroding, which is why there is a sense of urgency. If you're waking up with this kind of urgent pounding sense that I have got to make something happen, but I don't even know what it is, it's because you're pioneering an entirely new future right now that has, we all are, it correlates with this Saturn-Neptune convergence ruled by Mars in Aquarius, February of next year. There's this sense that actions have to be done in order to architect the new structures that are going to replace those that are being eroded right now. What's falling away is 3D egocentric ambition. Yet many are having a kind of relapse into that 3D egocentric ambition that I've got to make money, I've got to fight for myself, I've got to fend for myself. This is feeding the collective delusion, Neptune in Aries, that is having people individuate. And with that, Aries is a sign also of enterprise. We're also seeing that people are having this urgent sense that they have to make XYZ happen in their own business. Now, here is why this is completely ridiculous. That is the old paradigm that's being eroded. The 3D egocentric ambition for my personal enterprise is being eroded. Humanity is rapidly shifting from that out of business into a higher architecture of 6D ecocentric purpose. Now, for this reason, many are still misidentifying with many things in the architecture that's eroding away. And this is causing a collective despair and Neptune and depression and a despondency. And it's the opposite of innerspiration. It's a state of hopelessness where people are feeling like I've got to make things happen for myself. The truth is, no, you don't have to make things happen for yourself. We are receiving a higher call to collectivize. And with that, there's a shift away from business branding to collectivizing around movements that are being reanimated, that are being animated to greatness, that brings everyone together out of shared values, out of a sense of tribe, out of a sense that we're all in this together. All humans, we're in this together. And so What I perceive is that in the next year, we are building, as this erosion is taking place, we are seeing a complete disappearance of the old paradigm of business branding, where we are shifting into movement magnanimating, which means to take something that's already great and bring it to life, your Innerspired movement, or to take the spark of something that is infused with life and to energize it with a quality of greatness. This is the shift that is happening for humanity. We're moving away from business branding. We're moving to movement magnanimating. Like me, you're probably a visionary, and you know that all change happens in the unseen realm, from consciousness to reality, not the other way around. It all starts in the spirit, from consciousness, 6D, to reality. What's falling away are people's personal enterprises driven by lower 3D egocentric survivalistic complexes that are an urgency response being ushered from the Saturn Neptune in Aries collective bewilderment. The shift therefore is we are hyperdimensionalizing, so to speak. And in the 6D, everything starts off from the deeper calling of your soul in what it's called to do. You hear that call out of something that you have been struggling or suffering that has created within you a bewilderment that you see resonates with the collective. And out of that arises the calling of your soul that says, this is what I'm here to offer to life. And that becomes your life offering. And from your life offering emerges your sacred, not vocation, but your sacred inner vocation, your empowered inner vocation, which means your vocation from within. Think like career, think profession, but 2.0, we're talking something much deeper. Well, the question then is, what are you being called to stand for around the collective bewilderment that many are struggling and suffering at this time? And from the ordeal that you are emerging, Aries, from the Saturnian ordeal that we are emerging from at a personalized level, an ordeal in consciousness, but also that manifests in matter. Out of that ordeal, a sense of hopelessness in people. And so in the next year, we're seeing the rise of hopelessness, and it's only when we emerge from our own personal ordeal do we emerge with a revitalized sense of, yes, this is who I am. This is what I came here to do. This is what I need to do in order to align with the greater rhythms of creation, and that which is being ushered to life, being magnanimated through me, the vessel, for the collective. It's being innerspired within me for the collective. Innerspire collective actually exists out of a deeper awareness that this is where humanity is heading. We are no longer going to be operating from personal enterprising. We are shifting into collective movement magnanimating. This is of interest to you as a visionary change maker, as a sacred activist, as a heart-led leader, because you need to realize that every soul out of the ordeal that they have struggled and suffered and have redeemed themselves for, that they have pulled themselves out of that mire, out of that arises a calling in the soul. Out of that dark night arises a calling in the soul that knows who it is and what it came here to bring forth as its life's great work of heart. That gets invoked or energized as the foundation of that soul's movement, conscious movement on earth. And so I want you to start thinking in terms of conscious invocation brought within inner, a conscious inner vocation, empowered, embodied inner vocation of out of the foundations of in the vestibule of one's own life's great work of heart that emerged out of the ordeal that one has transcended. And so this is the question: what ordeal have you transcended that hints at, that provides intimations? So 3 levels, 2D, 4D, and 6D. And at the 2D, it's intimations. And at the 4D, it's animation. And at the 6D, when the third eye is awakened, it's emanation. And so at the level of your life's great work of heart that is being intervoked, you have an intimation, a hint at what is the conscious movement that you are here to build on behalf of the collective. Now, not everyone is here as a leader, but I'm really encouraging people to now realize we're shifting into an era that is going to be about human collectivization like we have never seen human collectivization. AI is supporting this to a level, but simultaneously AI is whitewashing human identity. That is part of that sense of bewilderment that, hey, humans are like, what is my purpose? What's the point of me if now, say, AI can do this thing? Like, think, for example, the graphic designer, amazing artist can now plug into AI, ChatGPT, and, give me visionary art that shows me XYZ. And so this is rendering the human obsolete. And so that is creating a collective bewilderment that people are losing that sense of identity and who am I and what did I come here to do and what do I need to be focusing on and why do I even matter anymore? Many people are struggling with that sense of they don't matter. And here's the thing: realize that it's because many have misidentified their worth with the deception of the financial system that was seated in place in 1989 during the recession at that time, that gave people such a sense of imminent dharma that essentially people have come to equate their value with what they're able to achieve. But realize this: the achievement it's not about material success as we have been collectively deceived in spiritual amnesia. The success is that we are visionarily attuned to what is wanting to be intervoked through our own vessel, through our own consciousness, as an intervocation of energy for all humanity in order to assist humanity to support souls in transcending that which has caused a collective despair and depression or densification, where people have gotten just too latched on that if I'm not making money, I don't count, I don't matter. This sense of not mattering because of a sense of provision, where people feel they don't matter because they're not earning. But realize, if you're not earning, it's because you're being called to something higher that's going to exist outside of the old architecture that is rapidly eroding. And in the new architecture of humanity, there is no more personal wealth generation. There is a collective distribution of resources which are decentralized for the collective benefit and for the awakening and evolution of humanity. And so if you're not earning, it's because you're no longer resonating with the old system that is coming undone, and you are not here to birth something within that fallen architecture, which means this is what I'm really impressing upon people at this time. You're not here to brand a business. You're here to magnanimate a movement of consciousness within the collective that is going to support the collective evolution and revolution. Do you see? That's how it works. If you have not been successful, it's because you've had the wrong idea of what success is. Success actually has to do with our visionary attunement to what is wanting to be revealed as our life's great work of heart, coupled with an alignment to the truth of our soul for the achievement of our agreement on earth. So humanity is realizing, we're going to start seeing that many people are going to be very challenged and struggling because they've overly identified their value based on the definition imposed by the old system, which says you're only valuable if you're creating an enterprise that's generating personal wealth, that shows your own personalized success. And that's eroding, and soon that's not going to exist anymore. The only thing that's going to matter is how you are able to effectively galvanize conscious movements. That means both birth movements, build them, grow them, and what I call magnanimate movements, which is infuse it with the spirit of greatness and life. And so we're shifting from 3D purpose, egocentric, to 6D ecocentric. Chances are, if you've been in resistance around this, if you've been in a degree of amnesia around this, you probably do not identify as a conscious movement builder. And this is the issue that I want you to see. Every soul is here to emanate a light that it's being called out of its own ordeal to energize for the collective consciousness, a movement in an energetic movement in consciousness on behalf of the illumination of humanity. That's what we're being called to do. And so if you've been in denial about this, that means you've probably had a resistance to, like, even if you hear me talk about, this message that you're here to build a conscious movement. You're not here to build a business. You're not here to make that work in a fallen architecture, in an architecture that is being eroded. You're not here to earn for yourself. You're here to generate the distribution of resources in the responsible stewardship of those who are protecting and safeguarding the planet, who are stewarding the planet in a good way for communities. You're not here to earn for yourself. You're here to earn for your community and to contribute to that. This is kind of part of the re-indigenization of... So Aries is a sign that shows kind of that rewilding, that re-indigenizing. The re-indigenization is back to Aquarian collectivization. The re-indigenization of Saturn-Neptune convergence next year with ruling planet Mars in Aquarius is about re-indigenizing back to collective, which means decentralization. You're not earning for me, you're earning for we, to distribute it to the collective. And then Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, which is in the sign of Taurus, and part of that distribution of resources, therefore, is for the sake of land stewardship, for the preservation, Taurus, and the sustenance of the earth. It's really about sustainability of the planet, and that means generating the resources that allow that to support community, but not you as an individual. Support the community, and then the collective supports you, who supports it. And this is why I'm so passionate about Innerspired Collective. I believe in my heart and soul that the future of humanity is going to lie in our ability to tap into the inspired teachings of our own soul. It's no longer about external guidance from another. Even though I call myself a visionary guide, I am not here to guide you. I would never say that. I'm here to help you access the inspired grace and guidance of your own spirit that already knows, who's already wise, who already has teachings inside, and to translate those teachings, to give voice to them for the sake of a movement that you're called to bring forth on earth. Even if that's just at the level of consciousness, my movement in consciousness is XYZ. For me, I received last year a movement that I didn't even know. It was a child I didn't even see coming. It is Innerspired Collective. It's my movement. It's my baby. And my movement as a soul who's emanating light, what was intimated to me out of the ordeal that I liberated myself from, which was the dark night of the soul 2 years ago, which I just did a recent post about. You could check it out on my social. But out of that ordeal, what was intimated to to me was how to put in place the purpose that I received 4 years ago: inspirit humanity and hearten the world. Well, I received the container for that. That is Innerspired Collective. It's an Innerspired movement that is here to help birth, build, and grow the conscious movements that are needing to be built and ushered forth for the collective consciousness and for the new earth that is being built out of the erosion of the old infrastructure from 1989. And we have one more year till that is gone. It's done and it's gone. And then what's next is humanity coming back, re-indigenizing back to a collectivized way of sustainability for the planet, which means we're all coming together. Do not be deceived, Neptune and Aries, to separate, to go your own way. You're not here to do your own thing. You are here to usher a movement for the collective, but not alone, to do that collectively. So this was very hard for me personally to accept within myself. The reason is because I was so impelled by this sense that I needed to make it happen for myself, that I was still focused on resonating. I was focusing on reaching my ideal client, right? Again, coming from the old model of business branding and reaching quote unquote ideal clients from a business branding standpoint had me supporting those who previously, who were only partially in. They had not gone all in on what they're really passionate about because they don't actually trust that that's what they're here for. They believe there's something else that they need to do for themselves, and there's all sorts of narratives around why they can't do the thing that's actually for collective benefit. And the biggest narrative has to do with resources. I can't focus on a collective movement because this is the limiting belief, because I have to make money, and for that I need my business. And so that has people say marketing the things that within the old infrastructure are perceived as value in the form of their UVP, their unique value proposition. But it's the things that the old infrastructure values because it values only what is, say, treasurable within a 3D paradigm of personalized enterprise. Do you see? So because of that, people are not going all in on what they're really here to build, which is a conscious movement that lives inside of you. And it exists as your life's great work of art, like a statue, this great masterpiece that's already embedded within the marble slab that you just need to chisel away at it. You just need to clear away what's false, i.e. the 3D egocentric purpose that you've been conditioned and programmed and indoctrinated and even traumatized into out of a sense of scarcity that was seeded in 1989 during the previous convergence of Saturn-Neptune. You chisel away all that, and what's left is the calling of your soul. The soul who freed itself from the marble slab, which was its own ordeal, its dark night of the soul that entrapped the soul from coming out. Out of that comes the calling of the soul. Out of that comes your life's offering, which is literally in the spirit of reciprocity, like when you make an offering to the earth, you're offering to life. This is the new paradigm. It's not about your personal enterprise. It's about what is the calling of your soul arising from the ordeal that you have carved your way out of. What is your offering to life? What is your sacred inner vocation? This inner vocation, meaning a movement of energy, of consciousness on behalf of the collective. From that comes your own conscious movement. That right now, a part of you is like, yeah, I'm not here to build the movement. I don't have time for that. You know, I need to pay the bills. I need XYZ. What we all need to be doing now is building our movement on behalf of the new earth. We have to do that fast because the old architectures are fizzling away, and those who do not have a collective out of the merits of their own good deeds, those who have not put in the work and labored that, are going to find they're going to have no collective to hold them, to support them, to fall back on, because they didn't bring anything of value in the new paradigm. The new paradigm is, how are you at galvanizing a movement in consciousness that supports the illumination of the planet? That's the light inner vocation, my friends. That's it. Shift away from business branding, shift into conscious movement building, or what I call movement magnanimating. And that comes out of your life's great work of heart. Great, like your magnum opus. Magnanimate your movement. Discover and develop the movement that lives inside of you. Infuse it with life, animate it, and make it great as part of your life's magnum opus, your great work. That's what we're here to do. Shift into that. Do that fast. Stop with the personal enterprising. Stop with the business. Build a movement that cares for the planet, that is supporting a re-indigenization back to collectivist ways that are consecrated devotionally for the stewardship of the planet, for the sustainability and the preservation of Mother Gaia. That's what we need to build. We magnanimate movements. As we do, we build tribe who has common values. They resonate with what we're building. They support it. And out of that comes a collective visionary fund that supports that movement that's being magnanimated, and therefore supports you by extension. In the Innersight immersion, we're going to guide you from indecisive around what you're here to birth in this new era to Innerspired. And this is going to be an intimate 12-week group container, a transformational journey that will help you illuminate your authentically Innerspired movement. What Innerspire Collective is about, building movements that operationalize consciousness itself. Out of the ordeal in soul that you navigated, the dark night of the soul that you have transcended, out of that ordeal came a new, say, graduating to a higher refinement of consciousness. That is going to be operationalized as a conscious movement that's built on behalf of the collective for the overall stewardship of the planet. And so Innerspire Collective, this is what's completely new. Those of you who know me as the Soul Astrologer, you've never seen this before. You have no point of reference for what I'm sharing. I get it. It's out there in left field. It seems completely bewildering because it's a new fucking paradigm. Innerspire Collective is here to function as a holistic consulting agency, an engine of inspiration, empowering soul-led initiatory movements for the new earth. We help visionary coaches, sacred activists, and heart-led leaders at the threshold of transformation find inner freedom and trust in the midst of uncertainty to birth and build your conscious movement that is meant to inspire the world. Reveal the magnificent great work of heart that's been hidden within you all along. We're here to lovingly partner with tomorrow's luminaries to bring your divinely inspired dream of sacred service to life, in heartening people and planet alike. We soulfully and strategically collaborate to magnanimate your movement by leveraging spirit-attuned astrology and energetic awareness. With Innerspire Collective, you can tap into your own authentic inner sight. I am the guide who teaches you how to tap into the higher guidance of your own soul and to operationalize that consciousness into a movement for those sacred activists, visionaries who are feeling the divine call to actually build conscious movements, to grow them. And the goal is in heartening people and planet. If you work with us towards this end, to inspire your great work, because you know what? it matters. We won't always be here. Life is sacred, and you're here to birth something really sacred into the collective. You got to work at it. You got to build it, create frameworks and structures to actually put that in place. And it all starts with the consciousness that you hold within and all that you have gathered thus far. I'm going to help you to operationalize that consciousness into a conscious movement that will inspire the world as only you can. So if you're interested in working with me, reach out. You can schedule a free Innerspire Now insight call on my website, and let's illuminate life together. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I'm wishing you all a beautiful evening, and I can't wait to see you soon. Thanks again.